Can Rahul Gandhi's audacious Bharat Jodo Yatras revive the Indian National Congress? Or much more needs to be done to keep the grand old party relevant to the 21st century political scenario? Rahul Gandhi's Nyaya Yatra can be described as an extension of his Bharat Jodo Yatra. The two nationwide yatras have definite aims to rediscover the role of Indian National Congress and come up with a strong political narrative. It is Rahul's high stakes bid to transform a beleaguered party desperately clinging to past glory into a renewed force in tune with the 21st century realities. This quest is fraught with monumental challenges but pregnant with immense promises and possibilities. Will the grand old party regain electoral relevance in the Modi era? Rahul's goal is to redefine the ideological pole and cultural temperament of the Congress, and he is striving to accomplish just that. The party's future in the Modi era will probably be determined by his ability to imagine and carry out a transformative roadmap. Few politicians today have embarked on grueling months long marathons spanning thousands of kilometers on foot. While opposition leaders have previously held rallies during elections, such expansive cross country journeys are unprecedented in scale and symbolism among recent political figures. Rahul's months long yatra stands apart in covering immense ground solely by foot, enduring physical hardship in ways unseen in contemporary politics to connect with people across state borders. His marathon represents an exceptional effort to galvanize support through direct grassroots engagement. Rahul's political makeover attempt through his first yatra steered perceptions away from derision about his capability. By conveying humility, earnestness, and determination in understanding people's concerns through gritty physical outreach, he could put to rest accusations of being disconnected and reluctant. The first yatra thus served to re energize loyalist constituencies dispirited by electoral setbacks. Yet, beyond rehabilitating his image as a serious leader willing to put in the hard yards, Rahul was also cementing foundations for an alternative vision centered on secularism, welfare, justice, and putting inclusiveness against BJP's divisive nationalism. This quest has found full throttled articulation in his latest yatra with explicit statements on resetting the Congress's ideological orientation towards positive secularism, fusing religious pluralism and economic egalitarianism. In framing this journey explicitly as Bharat Jodo Yatra and now Nyaya Yatra with unmistakable evocative parallels to Mahatma Gandhi's iconic Dandi March, Rahul has indulged in politically potent theatrics. The Padyatra nomenclature carries deep cultural resonance, imbuing his outreach with spiritual overtones of inner reform and contemplative self realization. This allows him to subtly yet unmistakably emphasize continuity between India's historic freedom movement legacy and his present exertions. Rahul's decision to walk thousands of miles rejecting comforts showcases his humility and sincerity. By doing this, he can present himself as truly immersed in the lives of regular people, attentively listening to their daily challenges, a priceless political asset that counteracts the advantage of his dynastic upbringing. No imagery could have conveyed greater authenticity and relatability for a leader seeking to emotionally reconnect with voters invested in the idea of the virtuous public servant living a simple life. Rahul's political theatre portrays him as a leader who walks among citizens, challenging the distant and inaccessible politicians of the past. Rahul's renunciation of privileges reveals the stark contrast between his understanding of people's pains and the BJP's detachment from societal fractures. Following years of ridicule and underestimation, Rahul embarked on his first pilgrimage, defying the perception of him as an entitled successor who lacked meaningful political achievements. It marked a crucial inflection point in this prevailing narrative. It cast Rahul as a leader invested in understanding the people's challenges through extensive grassroots interactions. It enabled him to discard the reluctant prince caricature and be taken seriously as someone with genuine political conviction. Rahul aimed to distance himself from corruption and misgovernance by framing his Padyatra as a safe composite India march against hatred and communal polarization. It enabled him to tap into the nostalgia for the Congress Party's traditionally secular stance, which appealed to minorities, liberals, and moderate Hindus who felt alienated by Hindutva extremism. Yet, image transformation was only the starting point. Through the timing of the second yatra near the 2024 general elections, Rahul has launched a complete ideological challenge to the BJP's powerful hold on political messaging. He is attempting to reclaim the secular, pluralist, welfare oriented space that the Congress ceded to unchecked Hindutva expansion under 2 decades of directionless drift. Rahul has notably sharpened the secular plank, declaring that genuine Hinduism needs a shake-up to weed out radical elements that have distorted its essence. He underscored his stand against politicized weaponization of religions cutting across faith lines. He addresses the problems of inflation, unemployment, and agrarian distress, creating a narrative of economic deprivation and inequality under BJP rule instead of focusing on cultural debates. This signals renewed efforts towards carrying out a clear ideological platform combining singular messaging against communal polarization and in favor of welfareism and inclusive development. Hence, Rahul's second long march across the heartland signals more than just an image makeover. It is his opening salvo in an impassioned ideological struggle to challenge the very philosophical foundations and policy priorities guiding India's trajectory under the prevailing dispensation. Rahul seems to have understood that the Congress party's decline is rooted in the abdication of coherent political messaging. The party's weakened position has allowed ascendant forces to seize the narrative vacuum by deftly employing welfare populism and nationalist mobilization that align with the aspirations of a transforming India. Reclaiming relevance, therefore, depends on infusing a sense of purpose and identity which the existing leadership forestalled during their passive custodianship. Reconciling socialist welfare legacies and secular nation building ideals is necessary to uphold aspirational economies, cultural reset, and nurture grassroots leadership. Therefore, Rahul has been sharply focusing on unemployment, farmer distress, and reorienting party ideology towards fusing religious pluralism with modernist outlooks. His initiatives must, however, translate intent into concrete actions on nurturing state leaders beyond tokenism. There is a need for formulating internal consensus around policies through collaborative thinking and visible demonstrations of developmental commitment beyond rhetorical positioning. Translating buzz around conceptual slogans into grounded messaging, connecting with popular sensibilities, remains a work in progress. Rahul intends to employ these yatras to reshape the Congress party's identity and political positioning in order to effectively compete against the BJP's powerful election winning apparatus. Of course, all this cannot be achieved in the short term. Rahul has bet his entire political legacy on pulling off far more challenging structural transformation of the Congress ecosystem itself. The Congress Party's steep decline from dominance to the brink over the past decade has resulted from deeper organizational malaise. Deprived of ideological convictions, the party lost its moorings. It could not adapt to the fast evolving societal dynamics. Worse, the internal factional struggles weakened the party structure. From a vibrant political force, the party was reduced to an old boys' club. Things became so bad that smooth generational change became almost impossible. The old guard wouldn't budge from its privileged positions, and the younger leaders were too impatient to wait any longer. We witnessed this in Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and the latest being Himachal Pradesh, where cross voting has led to the defeat of the Congress Party's candidate for the Rajya Sabha elections. The party thus transformed from a vibrant arena nurturing diverse ideological currents and local influences into an empty shell trading on past glory. This created a vacuum for more organizationally disciplined outfits speaking the languages of renewed aspiration and identity to dominate. It has become vital to engineer generational transition by inducting younger faces, dismantling entrenched power networks, decentralizing leadership, and planning collective decision making environment. The success of these transfusions hinges on whether party veterans take it upon themselves to recede from prominence. The Congress requires rewiring its ideological core, reorienting its strategic direction, and overhauling its internal culture. The yatras are aimed at reviving the party apparatus by building personal and emotional relationships with citizens, thus elevating the morale and cohesion of the cadre. They signal ideological rejuvenation, pivoted on secularism, inclusive development, and social justice to drive party's purpose. The Congress needs to acquire intellectual depth and maturity for nuancing secularism beyond reactive anti BJP positioning. It should understand the importance of being unambiguous on pluralism and minority rights as integral to India. It should articulate affirmative policies for socio-economic justice across communities. The party must reclaim the doctrine of Sarva Dharma Sambhava that goes beyond the liberal secular state's neutrality between religions to embrace India's civilizational syncretism. The most formidable challenge entails reconstructing a rainbow coalition among socio-economic blocs that once made up the party's unbeatable axis dominating the heartland. The path to resurgence goes through constructing broad social coalitions and alliances against the homogenizing exclusion of Hindutva nationalism. The party ought to reconcile caste and identity fault lines by championing the aspirations of marginalized groups which feel threatened by the upper caste triumphalism. With 80% of India's voters occupying the non upper caste Hindu spectrum, the urgency around regaining traction among upwardly mobile OBCs and SCs whose aspirations BJP has cultivated and Muslims feeling marginalized in political representations has assumed existential proportions. Constructing broad yet cohesive coalitions against Hindutva juggernaut without diffusing policy directions or reducing Congress to secondary status compared to assertive regional players will demand supreme political dexterity. Reorienting messaging towards backward classes, forging opportunistic alignments while retaining Nehruvian Gandhian idealism will be the litmus test. Rahul Gandhi has taken the first purposeful steps in what promises to be a demanding marathon to revive the electoral fortunes of the Congress party. This monumental effort cannot succeed without setting the party's ideological home in order and recasting secularism as an emancipatory doctrine that facilitates the broad basing of rights across communities, classes, and genders. His determined quest may appear quixotic given the existential threats looming over the grand old party, but there is a steely resolve evident in his actions that cannot be dismissed as foolhardy. Rahul's political destiny now hinges on transforming the party's rejuvenation efforts into vehicles of ideological consolidation and institutional resurrection. The keys to unlocking this transformation lie in the ideational gateways he must traverse. But turning conceptual breakthroughs into electoral realities will demand political skills and strategies of epic proportions. He faces the ultimate test of political leadership. His success depends on reforming the deeply ingrained problems that have long plagued the Congress party, overcoming inevitable resistance from established interests. He must prioritize ideological clarity while also restraining the impatient junior members and convincing the old guard to retire. The public marches he has undertaken or the public yatras he has undertaken represent the first moves in his ambitious effort filled with uncertainty. Given the Congress's immense structural weaknesses, there are no quick fixes to spur its electoral revival. Rallying unanimous support for Rahul's transformative vision across party lines and maintaining epic patience will be critical to sustaining the course he has charted. The acid test for Rahul's leadership, however, is whether he can steer the party away from its dynasty culture and put systems in place that facilitate younger leaders to succeed in future. Structural overhauls in organizational functioning are imperative, without which the rediscovery of ideological purpose or the solidification of electoral alliances will be ineffective. For this, young leadership must be nurtured while entrenched power citadels within the local party units are dismantled. This will empower the emergence of a new generation of eloquent grassroots leaders deeply connected to the people through their experience in decentralized governance. The delicate generational transition requires phasing out older figures who occupy binding roles while preserving their wisdom and mentorship. Packing organizational posts with younger figures bereft of mass support can perpetuate existing infirmities rather than curing them. As he walks this political tightrope, the ultimate yardstick by which his transformational leadership will be judged is his willingness to put the interests of the Congress party above the dynasty.